All right, guys, welcome to today's midday update, and it's Wednesday, the 31st, Halloween, and it's just after 11 o'clock. So let me go over the major indices. We'll talk about today's themes, the movers, and some of the option activity, and my trades, and how I'm positioning for the rest of the day, and what I'm watching. So S&P, hey, we got a real nice bounce going on. It's we're up 1.4% on the day. The Qs are the big outperformer. They're up 2.5%, as well as FANG stocks, actually energy stocks, doing very well. And then small caps are lagging a little bit, but still up 1% on the day. So let me go through a couple levels to watch for the day in S&P, which will give you a little bit of a nice guide and something to kind of point out. This is a really nice level to watch. If we bring up the 1 hour here in the S&P, we're right at this. So here's a level to watch, 27.27. That's your top of value. We're going to need a sustained bounce over that. If we notice on the first 1 hour, so again, what I'm looking at is the 1 hour bar. This gives you the value area for the whole week, right? So this stays constant for the whole week. If you look at SPY rather than S&P futures, a nice easy level to watch is it's going to be very close. It's 270. Call it 272, right? That's your area for a sustained bounce to watch for the day. Keep in mind, I'm always suspect of these early day moves. So for me, it's taking targets. Hey, this is a beautiful move today, but for me, if I'm not taking targets here, I'm foolish. So I'll talk about some of the things that I've taken targets in, and then just ratchet up your stops. Make sure that you're setting alerts. Again, this video is for information purposes only, as always. But for me, I set trailing stops. Keep ratcheting up those stops, and if they hit them, you have to honor them, or I have to honor them, I should say. Let's look at how this looks in terms of that's S&P. The Qs could still have more to go. Notice that the top of value for this week is the same as the bottom of value of last week. So that's about 172 that you could basically watch. So there could be more to go there for the Qs. No resistance yet on this. Just looking at this time frame, IWM. Same thing, 152.68. That's also lines up perfectly with last week's value area as well. So some really good levels to watch there. If we kind of just draw this out back to the daily chart, and notice also we got a kind of a gap up here, but that's a level to maintain. And maybe the opening print to watch. Let me just go back to the 1 hour there on IWM. Yeah, I mean you could use basically 150. That's the point of control for the week. So that's some levels to watch, and I'll just do this with the Qs as well. I think that 168.74. All right, so that's good. That's a good place to start with levels to watch. Let's talk about sectors. I mean, it's complete risk on. So first of all, some of the areas that have been have been the leaders. I call them the three defensive amigos. Sorry for the cheesiness, but it's easy to remember. That's utilities, consumer staples, and REITs. They're all down today. They were all down 1%, but I see REITs are a little bit off that. They're only down 70 basis points. But consumer staples and utilities are still off, down about 1.2%. So that's good to keep an eye on. They've been down. If they start to come back for the day, maybe that'll give you a sense that the tide is turning for the day. The best performers for the day, oil, XOP. Some of these sectors day by day are seeing oversold bounces. I think that's going on right now in the energy space. XOP, believe it or not, is your leader in sectors. It's not the FANG stocks, which I will go over in just a second. But that's XOP. Again, look at the RSI, oversold and bouncing. So don't know if there's going to be much more behind that, but you got an oversold bounce. Next, I would go to the FANG stock ETF. That's If you're not familiar with this, it's FDN, Frank, David, Nancy. Same thing, pretty oversold bounce. What I would draw your attention to is this NASDAQ Sentiment Index. Talk about setting up for a bounce. This thing, you could go to just Google NASDAQ Sentiment Index, and you could see from look at the volatility. Big low here, big high. This only gets updated once a day, but the last time this provided a move down here. It acted as a pretty good bounce territory. So look at this thing. I don't never seen this. They put all time high in here once it turned. So maybe perhaps it turned, but certainly this has given a squeeze, a pretty decent squeeze that's happening. So best thing I can say here, considering that, is just make sure that you're for me, just make sure that I'm ratcheting up my stops and taking targets. I traded Square at the end of the day. This was a chart that I sent out on Twitter. Again, I'm very transparent with what I send out, but I waited till the end of the day because we've been seeing these turns midday. So I waited right before the close. I put on Square. That's up 7.4% right now. That's also hitting. I took off half my position at that top of value, right? And I've got an alert, both sides, basically, just like I said in the indices. I've got an alert both at the point of control for support, for trailing stop, and I've got one also to see if we break out further, 74.41. Keep in mind, they report earnings in a little, I think, in about a week or so. So that's why I decided to go into cash. I put that on just, straight cash position. But again, just what we were talking about yesterday in the trading room, buyers just seem to really kind of get their sentiment just looking across what people are talking about on Twitter. I think people really kind of got washed out. And instead of looking at a really good setup on the 200-day moving average, it doesn't get much better than that, in my opinion. A couple other names that one of my only ads today is CVNA. This is Carvana back, I'm not going to chase GM. There's no way. But GM on earnings had good earnings. I think they said a lot of their pickup sales were pretty strong. I have to double check that, but that's just what a couple of headlines that I read. But so to kind of take another route instead of going along that one, just looking for a little bit of pin action in something else auto related. And I like this company. It's moved down from $70. It's basically it's halved itself. And I know exactly where to get out at that 200-day moving average. A couple other names from yesterday. I just want to kind of just talk about this one for a minute. Walmart. I took off my trade yesterday. Again, not being super, super greedy. I had a better than a double, so 100% gain in this one. And I took it off yesterday. A little bit of put action in Walmart. But again, you don't, for me, I'm not going to be super, super greedy with this one. Which is why I got out of it yesterday. Coca-Cola was one name that I'm watching. No position right now. They rolled a big position of November calls out to February. I think they took some money off the table for that one. But you got an inside candle today. I'm watching the weekly bar, so I might actually wait till the end of the week. So I'm not just because I see a lot of growth names rallying pretty hard. We'll see how this turns for the rest of the week. I'm not completely abandoning some of the things that I talked about earlier with value names. The Chinese internet also ETF up pretty nicely. Again, whenever you're trading, whenever I trade the Chinese internets, I always look to see what China did last night. Very strong last night, and I've been seeing inflows in there into those ETFs. The three of them: MCHI, FXI, and KWEB. KWEB is up 3% today. I would keep an eye on BABA. They report tomorrow. Look at where they are, by the way. I will be looking at a long play for this. 80% rule using the value areas. It's gone all the way through the weekly. Sorry, I'm on the weekly chart, but this is this year's value area, so I'll be looking at that one. My trade that I did yesterday that I talked about in yesterday's midday video that I put out there, I had two earnings related trade. I did go long this FDN. I went long a call spread, short a put spread. I still have the short put spread on, but just like I'm advocating taking profits, I'm out of this for 310, paid 180 yesterday. I'm still holding that short put spread. Abbott's a nice winner for me. Also Zen. Zen was the second earnings. I played two names for earnings. I sold premium for this one. It is up, so I've taken, I sold, if we go into my earnings, channel here, all very neatly organized in here. Zen, I bought back the November 55.50 short put spread for $1. Sold that yesterday for 225, so that's a nice winner. Notice, I'm talking about winners today. I got a lot of them. I was able to get out of my earnings trade in Google, salvage something in that. It's fine. Not every trade is going to be a winner. But it's nice to get out of a couple losers or a loser there for something. A couple other names that I'm watching. Salesforce. We saw calls yesterday in a little bit, just a little bit of calls in Salesforce, a little bit of calls in Amazon. I mean, we've literally been seeing Amazon calls go up almost every day. The ones that they bought yesterday seem to work. Netflix, so again, you got the 200-day moving average here. I'll wait till the end of the day to see how we close. But I do like to buy Salesforce on the dip. No position right now. Netflix has faded a bit from the highs, but again, very nice bounce that you've got so far. So that's basically it. Another name that I mentioned yesterday, Goose, hell of a winner. I did not put this one on. Shame on me. I've tweeted about it the last 3 days. Also, 200-day moving average support. I sent out a really nice descriptive chart on Goose, if not yesterday, I think 2 days ago, talking about how it filled the earnings gap all the way back here and has been bouncing. It's been pretty cold, although today's a nice day in New York City. Home Depot is another name that I talked about in yesterday's midday video, also bouncing pretty nicely. It's off the highs. It's actually only up 20 basis points. So again, just like I said yesterday, I'm watching to see. I'm sitting on my hands for the rest of the day and just putting together more setups that I think are going to be interesting. But now I think between as we're getting into the lunchtime, now is not the time. Now is not, in my opinion, the time to put on new trades. It's to be, kind of managing your positions, making sure that you've got stop prices, and not being too greedy. What else? There was one other name I was going to talk about it, but the option activity for the day. It's kind of how it's been all for the last couple weeks. There's a nice PAGS call buyer, BRFS. A little bit of calls there. That's a Brazil name. I am going to be looking at a Brazil trade later that I've been stalking for the last couple days, so that'll be sent out to members later. I mentioned Netflix already. RF, some calls. There was some headlines. Let's see if I can bring this up for you. For the regional banks, looks like they're talking about regulation for the regional banks. For the most part, what I read, reducing some of those regulations for the smaller banks. So, that could be really interesting and a nice catalyst for some of these banks. I put the wrong, sorry, that's the wrong command in Bloomberg. What else? Well, I'm waiting for that to come up. There was a really nice call buyer in NVIDIA, which I already posted on Twitter yesterday. Pretty sizable order. But here you go. Here's all the headlines for the financials. The one that got my attention: Fed with Taylor. Where is this one? Two key ratios eased. Two banks under 250 billion face less frequent stress tests. That's one. Let's see what else they come out with there. So that's about it. That's today's recap. A little bit longer than the last couple days, but lot to talk about for the midday summary. Have a great day, guys.